Hello, and welcome to English with Billy. I'm Billy, your host, your language learning buddy, and today, maybe even your personal life coach. This is the podcast where we explore fascinating ideas while improving your English skills. Today, I will explain an essay I read by an excellent writer named Tim Urban, and I will post a link to his essay in the podcast description if you want to read it later. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever felt nervous about what other people think of you? Maybe you're scared to make a mistake in English because someone might laugh. Or maybe you hesitate to wear that funky hat you secretly love because, well, what if people judge you? Don't worry, we've all been there. And today, we're going to talk about why we feel this way and what we can do about it. This episode is all about a little creature that lives inside all of us. Tim Urban calls it the inner mammoth. Trust me, once we tame this mammoth, life gets a lot more fun. Let's dive in. Let me tell you a story from when I was 7 years old. Picture little Billy with a goofy smile, sitting in the back row of second grade. There was this new girl in class. Let's call her Ezra. She was the coolest, prettiest girl I'd ever seen. I was smitten, totally in love. But I didn't know what to do. I mean, what do second graders even do about love? Write a poem? Share a crayon? Who knows? One day, during recess, another girl asked me a very dangerous question. She said, "Billy, who do you want to marry?" I panicked, but told the truth. Ezra. Big mistake. This girl ran around telling everyone. The other kids laughed. Ezra avoided me like I had the plague. I wanted to disappear. That day, I learned a lesson. Don't stand out. Play it safe. Don't let people laugh at you. Now, as adults, we might think, that's just silly kid stuff. But here's the thing. This fear of standing out, this need to fit in, never really goes away. Why? Because of our inner mammoth. So, what exactly is this mammoth I'm talking about? Well, let's rewind time, way back. Imagine it's 50,000 years ago. You're living in a small tribe in the wild, surrounded by lions, tigers, and other dangers. Back then, being part of the tribe wasn't just nice. It was survival. If the tribe didn't like you, they could kick you out. And being alone in the wild? Not good. No food, no protection, no chance. Because of this, humans evolved to care a lot about what others think. We wanted to fit in and please the tribe. That's how our ancestors survived. This need to fit in is what Tim Urban calls the inner mammoth. It's like a little voice in your head that says, "Hey, be careful. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't take risks. Everyone's watching." Now here's the problem. The world has changed a lot since those tribal days. We don't live in small groups anymore. There are billions of people out there, and most of them don't even know you exist. But the inner mammoth? It doesn't realize that. It still thinks we're in a tribe. Let me give you an example. Have you ever tried on 4 or 5 outfits before going out just to find the perfect one? That's your mammoth at work. It's whispering, what if they think you look silly? What if they don't like your shirt? Or maybe you've wanted to sing karaoke, but were too scared. The mammoth screams, "No way! What if you mess up? Everyone will laugh." The truth is, most people won't even care. But the mammoth, oh, it loves to exaggerate. Now, let's take a closer look at this mammoth. The funny thing is, it's actually not very smart. It has some big misunderstandings about the world. Here are 3 of them. 1. Everyone is watching me. Reality check. Most people are way too busy worrying about themselves to care about what you're doing. Seriously, think about the last time you saw someone trip on the sidewalk. Did you talk about it all day? Probably not. 2. I can please everyone. Nope, it's impossible. There will always be people who don't like what you do, and that's okay. If you try to please everyone, you'll just end up exhausted and unhappy. 3. Being judged is a disaster. The mammoth makes you think that if someone criticizes you, it's the end of the world. But really, criticism is just someone else's opinion. It doesn't change who you are. So, what can we do about this mammoth? We need to tame it and listen to something stronger, our authentic voice. That's the part of you that knows who you really are. Your authentic voice doesn't care about fitting in or being perfect. It knows what makes you happy, what you love, and what you believe in. Here's an example. A friend of mine, let's call her Rita, always dreamed of becoming a writer, but her parents wanted her to study law. Her inner mammoth said, "Make your parents happy. Don't disappoint them." For years, she followed their plan, but one day, she finally listened to her authentic voice. She quit law school and started writing. Now she's happier than ever. And yes, her parents eventually came around. All right, let's get practical. Here are 3 steps to tame your inner mammoth and listen to your authentic voice. 1. Recognize the mammoth. Start by noticing when the mammoth is talking. Ask yourself, why am I nervous? Why am I holding back? Recognizing the mammoth is the first step. 2. Challenge the mammoth. When the mammoth says, "Don't do it," people will judge you. Ask yourself, is that really true? Most of the time, the mammoth is exaggerating. Remember, people are not watching you as much as you think. 3. Take small risks. Start with something small. Maybe wear that funky hat you love but never dared to wear. Or try speaking up in class or at work. Each time you challenge the mammoth, it gets weaker, and your authentic voice gets stronger. Try something that feels a little scary. Speak up in a meeting. Sing that karaoke song. Wear that funky hat. When you face your fears, you'll realize the mammoth isn't so powerful after all. So, my friends, the next time you hear that little voice saying, "Don't do it," what will people think? Stop and ask yourself, is this my mammoth talking? Or is it my authentic voice? Remember, the world needs the real you, not a mammoth-controlled version of you. That's all for today's episode. I hope you had fun and learned something new. If you liked this episode, share it with a friend who might need to hear it. And don't forget to practice your English by telling someone about your own inner mammoth story. Until next time, keep being brave, keep being you, and keep learning English. See you soon.